Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to today's online class. Today's topic is anatomy and physiology of farm animals. This topic has been divided into two. That is why we are having one of two. So let us look at the definition of anatomy and that of physiology. By definition, anatomy is the study of forms and structures of farm animals. What we are saying here is that the animals are of different forms. For example, the goat and the fish, they are of different forms. You can see that the fish has scales. Some fish have scales, some fish have fins, but the goat, they do not have something like that. The goat has hairs on its body. It has some other organs inside, like it has a 4-chamber stomach, where I mentioned the rumen, the reticulum, omasum, and the abomasum. But if you look at the bird has only one stomach that we call the proventriculus. The bird again has the beak which it uses to pick up its feed, and it does not have teeth which it can use to crush the feed. Rather, it has gizzard to crush the feed. But if you look at the goat, it has teeth which it can use to crush grasses. So these are the things that we mean by that they have different forms. Okay, like the bird again walk on 2 legs, but for the goat it has 4 legs. As for the physiology, simply means the study of the functions of the forms and structures of farm animals. Like I said, that the goat has teeth which it can use to crush its feed in the mouth, but for the bird, it does not have teeth in the mouth. Rather, it has a gizzard inside its body which it can use to crush feed. So these are the difference between anatomy and physiology. Anatomy is just to study the forms and the structure, while physiology is the study of the functions of the forms and the structures that I've just explained. Now, this very one is a diagram showing the parts of farm animals. The diagram on the screen is the external features of a rabbit. As you can see, it has a long ear, it has neck, the ear is the back, here is the rump, the tail, the thigh, shank, ankle, foot with 4 claws. You can see the eye, the nostril, and you can see the mouth here, and here it has whiskers. Okay, here is the forearm, and here is the upper arm. All right, so now let us look at the identification of important organs of farm animals and their functions. Let us start with the liver first. The liver is one of the organs of the farm animal, and the liver is the largest organ in the animal body. Let us look at the function. 1, digestion, that is the breaking down of food into smaller substances so that the animal can absorb them into its blood for the usage of the animal body. Deamination simply means the breaking down of excess protein. Okay, if the animal consumes excess protein, it will disturb the animal, but the liver is there to control it by breaking the protein, that is amino acid, into 2 groups, that is the amine group and the keto acid. It is the keto acid that will now be stored and reused. But as for the amine group, that very one is very toxic. It will be removed. Okay. Now, another function of the liver is storage of iron. So, excess iron in the body is stored in the liver. Another function is regulation of blood sugar. How does it happen? In the animal body, when food that are of carbohydrates are consumed, okay, they will be converted to glucose, and it is the glucose that will be readily available for absorption into the bloodstream of the animal. But once this glucose is too much, the liver will help the animal to convert the glucose into glycogen, okay, and this glycogen will be stored in the muscles and cells of the animal, okay, and when they are needed, it will also be reconverted back to glucose. Another function of the liver is detoxification, that is the removal of toxic from the feed of the animal. This is done by the liver, because if the animal consumes feed, before it gets to the stomach, it will pass through the liver. So if there is any toxic material in the feed, it will be removed by the liver before the feed now gets to the stomach. Let us look at another organ of the farm animal, which is a kidney. The kidney is in form of, it has the shape, or it has the form of a bean. It has a bean shape and is of two. Is two in the animal body. Now, what is the function? One of the function is that excretion, that is the removal of waste product of metabolism. Okay, example is the urine and some other waste. Number two, detoxification, which I just said that it is the removal of toxic waste from feed before they get to the stomach. And number three, removal of excess glucose. The kidney also perform the work of the removal of excess glucose from the body of the animal when too much carbohydrate is consumed. The next one is osmoregulation of the body. What is osmoregulation? Osmoregulation is the balancing of water and salts in the body of the farm animal. Water must not be too much or too low in the body of the animal, and the salt as well must not be too low or too high in the body of the animal. The two must balance well. Okay. Another organ that I want to look at is the skin. The skin of the animal body. The skin is what covers the external part of the animal body, and on this skin you find either the fur, which is hair, or you find scales in the case of the fish, and the feather in the case of bird. And now, what is the function of the skin? One is sensitivity, in the sense that sensitivity means when an animal feels, the animals too also have feel things. They feel the stimulus. Okay, they feel stimulus. If they see something like, let's say, if you touch the animal will have the feeling that it has been touched. If the If there is heat, the animal will feel it. It will know that this is it. It will move away from that area. So this is what we mean by sensitivity. Excretion, that is the removal of a waste product of metabolism, such as let me call it when you see the skin of the animal, it helps the animal to remove sweat. That is what we are talking when we are talking about the skin, that is also used for excretion. Now let us look at regulation of body temperature. When the internal temperature of the animal is too much, it will be removed through the skin. That is why if you touch some animal body, you feel that it is a little bit the temperature, if it is high, so from there it will be cooling occur on the skin in order to reduce the body temperature. Now, protection. How does the skin carry out the function of protection? It prevents germs and other harmful objects from entering or finding their way into the animal body. Okay. Number 4 here is the lungs, another organ of the animal. What are the functions of the organs? The organ is one of the organ that helps in the expiration and the inhalation in farm animal. Now, one of the functions is that it helps gaseous exchange, which take place in the lungs. That is the removal of carbon dioxide and the taking in or inhaling oxygen. Number 2, it filters endogenous and exogenous emboli, preventing them access to the circulatory system. What do we mean by emboli? Endogenous emboli are the harmful particles in the blood stream, okay, in the body of the animal, that can obstruct the arteries, which will now prevent blood flowing in the bloodstream. Okay. Now, if another form of endogenous is, for example, we have bacteria and blood clots. If these particles move freely in the body, they can enter into the bloodstream and block the blood vessels, which will be very dangerous to the animal life. While exogenous emboli is the particles in the air. So if there is any particle in the air and they find their way into the lungs if they find their way into the bloodstream through the nose and the lungs, it will be a problem. Therefore, the lungs have to prevent the exogenous emboli from entering the body of the animal. Now, let us look at the heart and the function. The heart is the organ in the body that pumps blood. Okay, it pumps blood. It pumps blood around the body of the animal. We are going to treat the heart properly as the lecture progresses. Let us look at important systems of farm animals. Important systems of farm animals. Now, one is digestive system. This system deals with the breaking down of food substances in the animal body for absorption into the bloodstream. And circulatory system is the system in the animal body that controls the flow of blood or the circulation or distribution of blood around the body of the animal. Excretory system, this system is the system that deals with the removal of waste product of metabolism, such as the urine, the sweat, and feces. Now let us look at the reproductive system. This system is the system that deals with the production, the development, and the production of offsprings of the animal, okay, within the animal. Now we have respiratory system. This system deals with the removal and the taking in of oxygen, okay, the removal of carbon dioxide and taking in of oxygen. Nervous system is the system that deals with the brain, the spinal cord, because the animal have intelligence as well, okay. When they see something that is good for them, they know, and when they see something that is not good for them, they also know. So that is the work of the nervous system. Now let us look at circulatory system properly. Circulatory system involves all organs and tissues which are concerned with the movement of materials from one part of the body to another, where they are either used or removed, okay. For example, the blood moves from the heart, passes to the artery, and gets circulated to the body, okay. Now let us look at components of circulatory system, or organs and tissues of circulatory system. One is the heart, which is an organ. The blood vessels is also an organ. The blood tissue. The blood is a liquid matter, but it is a tissue, okay. Now we have composition or components of blood. The first one is blood plasma, and the second one is blood cells. These are the components of blood, because the blood is a red liquid medium. But in this red liquid medium, there are blood plasma and the blood cells. The blood plasma is the liquid part of the blood, while the blood cells, these are in solid form. So in the blood cells are of three types. Inside the blood, there are three types of blood cells. One is red blood cells, the second one is white blood cells, and the third one is blood platelets. As the lecture progress, I'm going to tell you the function of each of the function of the blood cell types. Now let us look at the function of the blood. One is that it maintains body temperature by what? By distributing it around the body of farm animal, because as the blood move from one part of the body to another, it are being distributed. Number two is maintains water level of the animal body, because as the blood moves, as I told you, is a liquid medium, okay. So it carries away water as it moves, and this is why we say that it maintains water level of the animal. It carries, it also removes. Number three is transports the blood, transport digested feed to the cells. So once the feed has been broken down into absorbable form, like for example carbohydrates to glucose, protein to amino acid, they will be mixed with the blood, and the blood will now carry them to the cells to where they are required to be used. Okay. Number 4, transport waste products like carbon dioxide, mineral salts, urea and water to where they are removed. Now, number 5, red blood cells transport oxygen around the body of farm animal, because when the farm animal inhale or takes in oxygen, the oxygen will be mixed with the blood, and the blood will become an oxygenated blood. This blood will now be carried to the brain, the cells and the muscles. Number 6, white blood cells defend the body. White blood cells defend the body from germs, defend the farm animals from germs. Okay, so if there is any germ that enters into the bloodstream, the white blood cells are there, like they act as soldiers that defend a territory. Therefore, they will deal with the germs by killing it or rendering it harmless. Number 7, blood platelets helps in blood clotting. What we mean by blood clotting here is that when the animal sustains an injury, blood will be gushing out, but it will not take too much time before the area where the injury has occurred will be covered with blood. Therefore, the blood will not be gushing out as the initial time it started gushing out. So it will be blocked and the place will heal up. So this is what I mean by blood clotting. Now let us look at the heart properly. The heart is an organ of circulatory system that pumps blood around the body of farm animals. The heart is located in the thoracic cavity, that is the chest. And what I mean by thoracic cavity is the cavity or the space behind the bones of the chest. Okay, the heart is made up of muscles called cardiac muscles. The muscle does not look like the common muscle or any other muscle of the body of the farm animal. Is a different type of muscle, and this is why it is called the cardiac muscle. And it contracts and relaxes continuously, making the heart to beat ceaselessly. Each pumping action of the heart is known as heartbeats. Okay, for example, if you put your hand to your chest now, you will be observing how the heartbeat is done. If you put your hand on your chest, you will feel your heartbeat. So that's what we mean by heartbeat. Septum, a central wall, divides the heart into right and left halves. Okay. Let us look at this. The heart has 4 chambers. 1, the upper auricle. So at the upper part is called auricle, and it's divided into 2. That is the right auricle and the left auricle. The right auricle is on the right hand side and the left auricle is on the left hand side. It also have lower ventricles. So at the lower part of the muscle, at the lower part of the heart is called a ventricle. So now at the right it has a ventricle at the second half, that is the left hand side. It has the left ventricle. Heartbeat mechanism. Here we want to discuss how the heart works. Okay, the heartbeat occurs in two stages, that is diastole stage and systole stage. The two stages are diastole stage and systole stage. Let us look at a diastole stage. What happens here is that at this stage, the two auricles contracts, creating high pressure in the blood, which causes bicuspid and tricuspid valves to fold downward. What we mean by bicuspid and tricuspid valves? These valves, they are what prevent the blood from flowing out uncontrollably, or at the time that they are not supposed to flow out. So they are like a check. Now, thus allowing blood to flow from the auricles into the ventricles. The oxygenated blood enters the right ventricle from the right auricle. What we mean by deoxygenated blood is that the blood that does not contain oxygen, that is the blood that oxygen in it has been removed. Okay, so while oxygenated blood, that is the blood that has been mixed with oxygen, enters the ventricle from the left auricle. In the second stage, which is a systole stage, during this stage, the two ventricles contract, creating high pressure in the blood, which causes the two valves to close. The two valves, they are those valves that I call the bicuspid and tricuspid. Okay, now the oxygenated blood from right ventricle passes into pulmonary artery, while oxygenated blood from left ventricle passes into the aorta. The aorta is the main artery that carries blood from the heart and distributes it through other arteries. And this oxygenated blood will now be carried to the brain, muscle, and cells to where they will be utilized. Blood vessels. Blood vessels are the network of spaces in the body through which materials are moved from one part of the body to another with the aid of blood. Okay, there are different materials in the body and they move from one place to another, and for them to be moved, they have to pass through blood vessels. Now, types of blood vessels: we have arteries, veins, and capillaries. The arteries carries blood away from the heart, while the veins carry blood to the heart. The artery is buried in the muscle, deep in the muscle, while the veins are on the surface of the muscle, close to the skin of the animal. Okay, that is, the veins is on the surface, is in between the muscle and the skin of the animal. Like in human being, if you stretch out your hand, you will notice that there are some lines in your skin, and those lines are blood. They are veins, okay, and blood is passing through them. As the blood is moving, is going into the heart. Number 3, capillaries is the tiny blood vessels found around the tissues and organs where artery and vein meet. Capillary is the region where the substances diffuse in and out of the blood. This diagram shows the flow chart of blood circulation. Look at it. Here is the heart. The blood moves away from the heart, passes through the artery. That is why we say that the artery carries blood away from the heart. It passes through the arterioles. The arterioles are like the smaller part of the artery, okay? It enters into the capillaries, and here are venous, okay, small parts of the veins, okay. And here, remember we said the capillary is where the artery and the vein meets, okay. This blood will now move from this vein, okay. It is from this vein that the blood will now be taken back to the heart. But don't forget that I said that as the artery carries blood away from the heart, it will distribute it to the brain, the muscles, and the cell, and this blood must have been oxygenated, that is mixed with oxygen, okay. So as the blood flows through, if it gets to the vein, the oxygen must have been utilized by this brain, the muscles, and the cells of the animal. So once the oxygen are removed, the blood will now become deoxygenated, and the blood will now move back to the heart. All right. Let us look at differences between artery and vein. 1. The artery carries blood away from the heart, while the vein carries blood to the heart. Number 2. All arteries except pulmonary artery carries oxygenated blood, while all veins except pulmonary vein carry deoxygenated blood. Number 3. Artery has a thick, elastic, and a muscular wall, while vein has a thin, less elastic, and non-muscular wall. Number 4. Artery has valve to prevent reflux of blood. The valve prevents the reflux of blood. What we mean by reflux of blood is that once this valve is closed, it will not allow blood to try to escape, okay, while the vein has no valve. Number 5. The artery, its blood flow under high pressure, because as the blood is moving away from the heart is with high pressure. It moves on a high pressure. But for the vein, the blood flows under low pressure. Number 6. The artery is located deep in the muscle, while the vein is located near the body surface, okay, that is under the skin of the farm animal. So here is where we are going to stop for today. So study it, and so that you can understand it properly. Thank you for listening.